Tonight, I share a secret so profound it alters the fabric of your reality. Your inner speech is the creative word. Many ask, why do my desires linger? Why do my prayers seem unanswered? The answer lies not in fate, but in the silent conversations you hold within. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. John 1:1. This is not poetry, it is law. The Word is your unspoken dialogue, the ceaseless whispers of your mind. Most wander unaware, crafting lives of lack by rehearsing fear and doubt. But once you grasp this truth, that your inner speech is God in action, you realize creation is not distant. It is here, now, in every thought you accept as true. A man once pleaded, I visualized, affirmed, yet nothing changes. I asked him, what do you say in solitude? When the world fades, what do you truly believe? He confessed, it's not working. Maybe I'm unworthy. His error, affirming desire while assuming lack. The law of assumption decrees your reality mirrors your unconscious confessions. I instructed him to discard effort and simply assume fulfillment. Within days, his desire materialized. This is the great secret. You manifest not what you want, but what you assume. Wealth, love, joy, all are birthed not by force, but by the quiet certainty of, it is done. A woman wept at my lecture, estranged from her son for years. She'd affirmed reconciliation, yet her hidden dialogue whispered, why won't he forgive me? I told her, silence is not emptiness, it is fertile ground for creation. Shift your inner speech to how natural it feels to hear his voice, and the world must obey. 7 days later, her son called, repentant. The world is a mirror. What you declare in silence, it reflects. Guard your inner speech as sacred. Tonight, listen. What do your whispers create? You do not attract, you manifest what you assume. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. Your treasure is not your desire, but the silent assumptions you repeat as truth. Most beg the universe for change while clinging to inner dialogues of lack. But the law is clear. Your reality is the exact echo of your unspoken convictions. A factory owner stood on the brink of ruin during a recession. While competitors slashed costs, his inner speech confessed fear. What if I lose everything? Maybe I should prepare for failure. I challenged him. Assume your business thrives now. Speak as though it is done. He began whispering, my factory prospers effortlessly. Demand surges daily. Within months, his profits doubled as rivals shuttered. The world mirrors your assumption. Doubt nothing. Manifestation is not labor. It is surrender to a state. A woman once affirmed love yet inwardly sighed, I'll always be alone. Her desire remained distant until she assumed fulfillment. How natural it feels to be adored. Within weeks, her life overflowed with suitors. The law demands no effort, only unwavering assumption. Wealth whispers effortlessly. Funds flow freely, not I hope to afford this. Health declares I am whole, not I'll heal someday. You are not a beggar pleading with life. You are God, decreeing reality through inner speech. Tonight, ask, what do I assume as true? For the answer writes your tomorrow. There is a great misconception among those who seek to change their world. They believe they must manifest their desires, as though reality were something to be wrestled into submission. They speak of attracting, of drawing things toward them, of waiting for their dreams to materialize. But manifestation is not a process of becoming. It is a process of being. You do not need to achieve your desire. You must only assume its state. This is the great secret. When you assume a state, its fruit must appear. It means that the moment you take upon yourself the feeling of already being the one you wish to be, reality has no choice but to reflect this truth. Yet most do the opposite. They dwell in wanting. They affirm their desire while secretly assuming the opposite. They long for wealth, but their inner speech sighs, "One day I will be successful." They wish for love, but whisper, "If only I could find the right person." And so, time is born. For time is not an external force. It is the offspring of inner speech that delays fulfillment. The moment you say, "One day I will be," you cast your desire into the future, forever out of reach. But when you declare within yourself, "I am," the bridge of incidence begins to form, and the world reshapes itself to your assumption. The world will never contradict what you have internally accepted as true. You do not need to force reality. You need only assume the state, and reality will comply. The world does not operate on effort alone. It moves according to the states you assume as real. You do not force circumstances to change. You do not push against reality. You assume. And when the assumption is complete, when there is no contradiction within you, reality must reflect it. This is why some struggle endlessly. They affirm one thing, but assume another. They try to achieve instead of simply being. But I tell you this, you are already that which you seek. You do not need to reach for it. You need only assume it is so. And when you do, when you wear the state as though it were already yours, the world has no choice but to conform. For assumption, dear friends, is the only reality. Many who seek to manifest their desires fall into the same silent trap. They try, they struggle, they use willpower as though reality could be bent by sheer force. But my dear friends, willpower cannot force inner speech. Your inner dialogue is not something to be controlled. It is something that flows naturally from assumption. When you assume a state, the appropriate inner speech follows effortlessly. A man who is wealthy in consciousness does not wake up each morning and try to convince himself of abundance. He simply knows it. And because he knows it, his thoughts, his reactions, and his experiences mirror that wealth. Yet most seekers do the opposite. They affirm prosperity while internally fearing lack. They visualize success while secretly doubting it. And so, they become double-minded. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. James 1:8. What does it mean to be double-minded? It means to affirm one thing while assuming another. It means saying, "I am loved," but feeling unwanted. It means declaring, "I am successful," while inwardly whispering, "What if I fail?" And so they remain in limbo, trapped between two opposing states, unable to fully manifest either. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot affirm abundance while assuming scarcity. You cannot declare love while assuming rejection. The one who succeeds is the one who has made a definite assumption, without contradiction, without hesitation, without wavering. The greatest lie ever told is, "One day I will be happy." It is this deception that keeps men and women bound in limitation. For the moment you declare, "I will be," you place your desire in the future, forever out of reach. But the one who declares, "I am," collapses time itself. Consider the artist who came to me, frustrated by rejection. "Neville," he said, "I want to be celebrated for my work, but every critic dismisses me. Every door remains closed. What am I doing wrong?" I asked him, "What do you say to yourself in silence? When you are alone, how do you speak of yourself?" He hesitated, then admitted, "I tell myself that success will come someday, that if I work hard enough, one day I will be recognized." And there it was. One day. By placing his success in the future, he had ensured that it would always remain in the future. I instructed him to assume a new state, not to wish, not to hope, but to declare, "I am celebrated. My work is valued. My name is spoken with admiration." "But Neville," he protested, "how can I say this when the world says otherwise?" "The world is only reflecting your assumption," I told him. "Change the assumption, and the world must follow." And so he did. He assumed the feeling of being celebrated. He walked as though his work were already revered. His inner speech no longer pleaded for recognition. It assumed it was already his. Within months, everything shifted. The same critics who once dismissed him now praised his work. The same doors that had been closed swung open. Did the world change? No, he changed. And because he changed, the world had no choice but to follow. The reason most fail is not because the law does not work. It is because they live in one day instead of "I am." They try instead of assume. They affirm one thing while secretly believing another. But I tell you this, your world is nothing more than your assumption pushed out. Make no effort to force change. Make no plea to a power outside yourself. Simply assume. Assume fully, without contradiction, and reality must yield. For the law is perfect, and it never fails. Many believe that manifestation requires years of practice, that results must come slowly, unfolding at a pace dictated by external circumstances. But I tell you now, transformation can be immediate. The moment you shift your assumption, reality must follow. The only delay lies in you, in your willingness to accept the new state fully, without contradiction. And so, I offer you 3 techniques that, if practiced with sincerity, will yield results beyond what you once thought possible. Sleep is not merely rest for the body. It is the doorway to creation. In the moments before sleep, your mind enters a state of heightened suggestibility, where your assumptions take root most deeply. The last thoughts you hold before drifting into unconsciousness set the stage for your waking reality. Most people waste this sacred moment. They fall asleep reviewing their failures, worrying about tomorrow, rehearsing arguments, lamenting their circumstances. And so, they awaken to the same conditions day after day, bound by their unconscious inner speech. But here is the secret. Before sleep, let your inner speech echo the state fulfilled, not the wish desired. Do not fall asleep wanting, fall asleep having. If you wish to be wealthy, do not drift into sleep longing for abundance. Assume the feeling of already being prosperous. Hear the inner conversations you would have if your success were already fact. If you wish for love, do not fall asleep in loneliness. Assume the presence of your beloved. Hear their voice. Feel their warmth beside you. Let me share with you the story of a man who proved this truth. An executive came to me, frustrated by his stagnation. He had worked for years in the same position, watching others rise above him. "Neville," he said, "I long to be promoted, but my efforts go unnoticed." I told him, "Stop longing. Assume you already are." Each night, before sleep, he lay still and entered the state of his wish fulfilled. He heard within himself the congratulatory words of his colleagues. He felt the weight of the title already his. He saw himself seated in the office of a CEO. Within weeks, a sudden shift occurred. His superior resigned unexpectedly, and he was offered the position he had assumed as his own. Did he force this event? No. He simply prepared the way by assuming the state, and the world complied. This is the power of sleep. If you would change your world, change the thoughts with which you enter the realm of dreams. You believe the past is fixed, that what has happened cannot be undone. But I tell you, the past exists only as it lives within you now. Every memory you hold, every event you recall, is not an external fact, but an internal assumption. And since assumptions create reality, you can revise your past and, in doing so, alter your future. Revise daily conflicts into harmony. Your world must conform. If today you quarreled with a friend, do not sleep with that version of the story. Before bed, revise the scene. Imagine instead a moment of peace, a reconciliation, a loving exchange. Replay it over and over until it feels real. Let me tell you of a woman who used this technique to heal a strained relationship. She had been estranged from her sister for years, each conversation ending in argument. She came to me, desperate to mend the bond, but unsure how. "Have you spoken to her inwardly?" I asked. "What do you mean?" she said. I explained that every interaction she held with her sister, whether spoken aloud or merely imagined, shaped the reality of their relationship. She realized that, though she longed for peace, her inner speech replayed years of conflict, and so she began to revise. Each night before sleep, she reimagined their conversations. Instead of anger, she heard love. Instead of resentment, she felt warmth. Within days, her sister called. The hostility had vanished. The relationship, once thought irreparable, had transformed, not through force, but through revision. Your past is not a prison. It is a canvas. Rewrite it, and your future must change. Most believe the people in their lives act independently, that their behaviors are beyond their control. But I tell you now, everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. The way they treat you is a reflection of your own inner speech about them. According to your faith, be it unto you. Matthew 9:29. This is no gentle suggestion. It is the unyielding law of creation. You stand at the precipice of your destiny. Leap into the assumption of your fulfilled desire, or remain shackled to the illusion of someday. The universe tolerates no bystanders. A dying man once stumbled into my lecture, his body ravaged by disease. For years he had prayed for healing, yet his inner speech betrayed him. "God, if you're listening." I confronted him. "Assume health now. Stop begging. Declare, I am healed." He surrendered his doubt, flooding his mind with, "I am whole." Every cell thrives. 2 weeks later, his doctors stood baffled. His tumors had vanished. The lesson? Faith is not passive hope. It is the ruthless occupation of a state. The law waits for no man. The world is nothing but your shadow. It does not lead, it follows. To delay assumption is to worship delusion. Waiting for the right time is the anthem of the defeated. A woman once vowed, "I'll assume love when I lose 20 pounds." She died alone, her thighs thinner, but her heart untouched. Doubt is suicide. A single whisper of "what if it fails" unravels lifetimes of effort. You have heard the law. You have seen how it works. But hearing is not enough. Knowing is not enough. The law must be tested. For truth, if it is truth, must prove itself in experience. So tonight, I challenge you. Let your inner speech dwell on the wish fulfilled, not on how or when. Do not entertain thoughts of delay. Do not ask yourself whether it is working. Simply assume. Assume you are already the person you wish to be. Assume the world has already conformed. Do this, not with strain, not with effort, but with the quiet knowing of one who understands that assumption must harden into fact. Now, the choice is yours. Will you return to the old way of thinking, bound by circumstance, waiting for proof before you believe? Or will you step forward in faith, assuming your desire is already real, knowing that the world must follow? I charge you now. Go live in the end, assume the state, and watch the world, your shadow, follow. Not tomorrow, not when conditions seem favorable, now. For you are God, and your inner speech is the word that creates worlds. Speak it wisely, speak it boldly, and let the world reveal what has been true all along. If this message has resonated with you, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe and share this truth with someone who needs encouragement, someone who feels lost in doubt, someone who needs to remember the power they hold within. There are so many who still believe they are victims of circumstance, unaware that they are the creators of their own reality. Be the light that awakens them. Thank you for walking this journey of understanding. May you step boldly into the life you were always meant to live. And remember, the I Am is always with you.